But it's also, again, coming back to the theatre, is I remember the first few times I did it for my business, 8 or so years ago, and there's times when I've had interviews for jobs as an employee where I had to stand up and give a presentation. I've always done really well at them, but repetition reduces the fear. The more, and it's not necessarily the more you deliver the same speech, but the more you publicly speak, the easier I tend to find it gets, and the quieter that fear voice gets.
Well, yes and no. It's classic Libran, isn't it, speaking? You should always be nervous before you speak. Mark Twain said, a bit like your boxing phrase, Mark Twain said there are 2 types of public speaker. Those that are nervous before they speak, and liars. And it's nature's way of saying, hey, hang on a minute, you're going to do something that's very important. Make sure you do it correctly.
Yeah.
And that's the key. You should have that little bit of nerves, like the boxer going into the ring. I mean, I used to play professional sport, and I would always be the last out of the changing room, and quite often I'd dry retch in the corner before I came out.
It's common for boxers as well.
Common for all footballers as well. But the moment I stepped across the whitewash, I played rugby league, which was a fairly rough and tough sport. So the moment across the whitewash, I was fine. It was the moments before I got there, the nerves and the anticipation. But they were saying, hey, you've got to be careful. And it's just the same with the feeling you get when you're about to stand up and speak.
Okay, I'll put you on the spot here as a thought. I completely agree with what you're saying, is when you're doing what you're comfortable with, you don't think about it too much.
Correct.
It's the anticipation, the dread of, oh God, it's me next sort of thing, or it's me in 3 speakers' time. For someone that's nervous about it, and I'm genuine, I'm pretty good with it now. I have the anticipation that everybody has, but I'm quite happy to do it. If you're a speaker, say there's 8 speakers going, a networking event, there's 8 speaker slots or whatever, would you suggest the nervous person go first, last, in the middle, or doesn't really make a lot of difference?
Okay, I'm going to answer in a slightly different way, but give you an experience you know. You've seen the table at the networking group, and there's 18 or 25 people sitting around it, and the person leading the group says, well, we'll start with Michael in the corner and work round. Now, if you have a nervous speaker there, or somebody who really is frightened or really concerned about it, sitting at number 10 or 11, I'll guarantee you they won't be listening to the 5 speakers before them, because they'll be really, really concerned on what they do.
Yep, very true.
And I bet you'll also miss the next 2 afterwards, thinking, oh, thank crikey, that's over.
It's again like sports, very much like an adrenaline dump, isn't it?
Yes.
Your body gets flooded with adrenaline, and then you stand up, either your mouth goes dry and you say nothing, or you go, hi, my business does this, if you want any of this.
Oh yeah, we on your audience.
Yeah.
That's a great one, the we on your audience.
Yeah.
We do this, we do this, we do this. What, how many people like reading lists?
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah.
If the wife says to me, oh, we're going to go to the supermarket, do you want to have a look at the list? No. That may be a man thing in a shopping list, but it's still a list.
I've done that now. I think it's very true that. And a bad example that I remember was something like a lady stood up at an event I was at, and if she listed one company, she listed 8, and I still wasn't really sure what she did, and she waited on for 5 times longer than she had, and all the rest of it. It's kind of like almost a tick box of all the mistakes to make before someone said, "Thanks very much, love."
2 points about that. One, the timing issue. When you're writing your speech, if you've got 20 minutes, write and rehearse for 15, because I'll guarantee you'll overrun.
Yep.
Or worse still, the organiser will say, Craig, I'm sorry, we're running a bit out of time. You've only got 15 minutes, and you are there to deliver to their audience, so you have to deliver what they want. Secondly, the point about listing lots of things. If you want to be remembered, you avoid anywhere, anytime, anybody, men and women, live in a house, have a of all these things I've heard, because your mind parks that somewhere that's not important. If you want to be remembered, be very, very specific. And we as people think that we have to tell the world everything we do, otherwise we won't have done our job. The problem is, we in the audience are listening for triggers. For example, have you ever sat on a train, sat in your office, sat in the lounge room, sitting in the bath, gone for a walk, having a pint, and a completely random idea pops in your mind? We've all done that. That's your trigger, and it's either triggered by an emotion or one of your 5 senses. So if you're delivering to an audience, you want them to have those triggers all the way through that they'll remember you by.
Yeah,
and anybody, I'd like an introduction to anybody anywhere you know who might need whoosh. You've forgotten that before you stand up.
Yeah, it's a very, very, very good point. With the public speaking aspect, as we've said, you've kind of got delivery and you've got content. Yeah. I remember a recent example of a speech that I had to give. I was told I had 40 minutes to deliver, 40 minutes, and then got there and found out I had 20 minutes to deliver it because they were running late. So I had to half the duration of my presentation, but luckily it went fine. I managed to work through it and cut that down. Are you, in terms of rehearsal, practice and stuff, what bit do you find as a someone that's very knowledgeable in the area? What bit do you find is your weakness? What area do you find not as natural, harder to master?
The hardest thing for me is when I've got a speech which is factual and they say I don't have enough time. Because I write all my speeches, I work with a scriptwriter to write speeches which are all about stories. We're hardwired to listen to stories. The most popular things on television are dramas, soaps, they're stories. Yeah. So if I've got 40 minutes, I'll try and put in some 5, 7 and 8 minute stories. So if I've got to cut time out, I can take a story out. And that's relatively straightforward because I can lose the 5 or 10 minutes or whatever I've got to lose just by not telling as many stories. But if it's factual and I'm relying on a logical course of events and they say you've only got half the time, I like a bit really struggle.
Yeah, so A goes to B, B links to C, C to D, and then if you're told you've got to cut a couple out, and
especially if you've prepared a visual support presentation to go behind you, you're suddenly whizzing through slides that people want to know what the heck they are.
Speeches and presentations and stuff, who stand out for you? Is there anyone that you sit there and think?
Well, somebody you've never heard of, probably Cathy O'Dowd. Cathy's a very well known in the speaking circles, very well known lady, very highly paid, does World Banking Organisation type events. Excuse me, Greg. That's a quick tip for you as well. If you're giving a long speech, the best thing you can have with you is a lukewarm drink, because that lubricates the throat better than cold or hot. Cathy O'Dowd, she was the first woman to climb Everest from both sides, and she gives a business presentation on teamwork, and it's just outstanding. Roger Harrop's also a very good person. He's an ex-chief executive who talks about being in the helicopter business, and he's really, really entertaining. But if you want to see good speakers, just check out some people like the PSA, the Professional Speaking Association. You have a list of all the members on there, and most of them are pretty good, But any good speaker will meet what they call the 3 E's. You need to enthuse, educate, and entertain. And if you want to do it for a living, or you want to be paid to do it, a lovely question somebody asked a friend of mine said, when should I use humour in a speech? Every time you want to get paid.
See, I've used humour a couple of times, and I think 2 or 3 times I've nailed it.
Occasionally it falls.
Once was just tumbleweed. Literally, I was literally like, Homer Simpson, but that one failure was enough.
Makes you cautious.
Has overridden the successes I've had with it.
Shouldn't be.
And now I'm very, very cautious.
So what you're saying is you're not looking for a second career as a stand-up comedian?
Yeah, no, not anytime soon. But for me, what I think helped me, I mean, I've done Dungeons and Dragons role-playing games from the age of 8, so it's 29 years now. And I studied acting. I went to college to study acting as well. So I was used to making a burk of myself. Being a guy,
showing off in public.
Being a guy at 18, having to do dance and stuff. Again, it's just things that I loved my time there, but oh dear, it was it was one tree out of the comfort zone. But I find that really encapsulates what public speaking is. It's
one of the things with humour is always there's one word of caution up front. Humour has always got a victim. So if you can use self-deprecating humour,
make it you, yeah.
Or you can use humour about something that's in political life. For example, at a networking event last week, was it week before, somebody stood in Cambridge, somebody stood up and said who he was and what company he was. He said, "I'm from Newmarket, the home of fast food."
Yeah, very good.
Perfect, because the horse meat stuff
was topical at the time.
Topical,
yeah.
And the victims were the big supermarkets and the supply chain.
I was at a conference event about 18 months ago where the guest speaker, I sat there and I thought, I'm not sure this is really going to be my cup of tea, because personally I couldn't stand it. Was Ruby Wax. I have to say,
very, very good.
Very crass, very rude, but actually I was surprised how good she was. I've seen her on TV and thought, not my cup of tea at all, but she was exceptionally good.
Right.
But she is the butt of most of her jokes.
Yes, she is. Now, if you want to see Ruby Wax doing something superb, on TED, you know about TED Talks?
No.
TED Talks, they're where innovation happens. Just Google on YouTube Ruby Wax plus bipolar, because she's bipolar.
Yeah.
And she gives 15, 16 minutes of probably the most impassioned speech you will ever hear. And yes, she is the butt of all her jokes.
I think the other one I saw that surprised me how entertaining it was it Peter Mandelson?
Well, he should be. He's been a politician. They know a thing or two.
Yeah. But he was talking about, I'm sure it was Peter Mandelson, he was talking about political life. He had a book that was coming out at the time. But I
could have been Alistair Campbell, of course.
Yeah, no, definitely wasn't Alistair Campbell. Yeah. I'm pretty sure it was Peter Mandelson. I will double check and post something about that. But he was as an after dinner speaker, and I kind of thought, politician, yeah, outrageous, incredible, very, very entertaining. He talks about cabinet life, mistakes, faux pas people have made, things that have worked, things that hadn't worked, but it was to an audience that everybody got what he was saying.
Yeah.
And that was the funny thing, and kind of politics, I'm quite interested in it, but a lot of people aren't. It's a bit of a dry subject. There was a very, very mixed audience, age-wise, professional life-wise, a whole lot. But it was very, very good, and I think that in itself was very interesting.
Two things there. One, you'll find that most entertaining politicians are either ex-politicians or they're out of government, because when they're fairly senior politicians, they have to toe the party line.
Yeah.
There's no messing around.
And they say what they like afterwards. Yeah,
absolutely. And politicians do make good after-dinner speakers because they're used to delivering short, to-the-point speeches. And if they work with a halfway decent scriptwriter, they'll be bookable for years.
It was very, very, very good. But as humans, we accept the fact that we're going to have this, this anxiety, this uncomfort about doing it. And I think you and I probably agree. The more you do it, the quieter that fearful shouting voice saying you're naked in front of everyone. What are you doing? That voice eventually diminishes to the point where it's a little squeak, and you can deal with it. You can manage it.
Tommy still turns over when I get up to speak, even at networking for 60 seconds, because I know what you're doing. But yeah, repetition is the mother of success.
Yeah,
it really is.
It's familiarity, it's comfort, and all the rest of it.